And we're back.
We are back. We are back. 2 weeks. Whew.
2 weeks. And it seemed like last week, rightfully so, right? Not so much going on. But boy, this week made up for it.
Yeah, it really did. And it was a rough week for that kind of activity. So, full disclosure and applause where necessary. I spent a lot of this week on my couch, not feeling well, not curating. And Lenny was like, but this. So a lot of this is really your heavy lift, Lenny. So giving credit where credit is due, when credit is due. Thank you. Because I was like, I got nothing this week.
It's all right. Well, and full disclosure, I was curating like while visiting my brother who was having a health crisis. So it was in between. So we were both distracted doing other stuff.
Distracted.
So, while life moved on.
Life moved on. I just couldn't read because my eyes were hurting. Anyway, this is not a pity party. I had a fever for days, but I'm negative for all the things. So now I'm just on an antibiotic. So I promise you, I will get better. But reading was not something I was really interested in. I think I have 2 out of the 25 stories we wanted to cover today.
That's right. Yes, there was so much. And actually, let's cue that up. So things happen in cycles, right? So we Karen chose, and rightfully so, this week to focus on a few things, but we're going to build a story over the next 2 to 3 weeks because there were also elements that we just couldn't fit in, or else we'd be here for like 2 hours. That were important this week related to the next evolution of AI. And we'll talk about that next week, particularly as all of the AI. Here's we're going to tell you the end point now. What we're going to talk about this week is around the introduction of agents, particularly, and how they're impacting lots of things in the research space and also externally. And then next week, we're going to talk about what were also announced, which were new platforms, particularly browsers that are all agentic, and what that integration is going to mean. So the key takeaway is everything we're going to talk about today, the train continues barreling along. We're getting a better sense now of how things are coming together and what that may mean for the industry. And we'll be talking about that as we go forward because, boy, there's just so much happening.
Yeah, and I think let's just throw out the traditional, like, let's start with activity and start with the agent work because we're here, because some people are probably like, what are you even talking about? So let's talk about the 2 agentic things, the big agentic things this week, because I think it's important.
Okay.
And Carly, we're messing up our cadence just because I like, this is how a qualitative researcher does things, right? It's like we talk about the topic when the topic approaches. So down at the bottom of our list of links, we have this story that Lenny found about Burke. Or from Burke, exploring how AI shopping agents are transforming brand experiences or brand relationships from kind of digital experiences. Tell us more about that, because I did not get to this article, but I want to.
Yeah, I mean, so hats off to our friends at Burke on exploring, the impact of shopping agents. Actually, in this week, I saw multiple pieces just to kind of enhance this as well on Prime. It was Prime Day, Prime Week, whatever the hell, they did this week. And the usage of shopping agents within that big shopping period. So this thing we've been talking about for a while, Burke has really kind of tried to quantify that and understand where things are, both from an adoption standpoint as well as from a utility perspective. And we are there now. That is cycling up where consumers are enabling agents to find what they are looking for and to execute the transaction. Big picture, what does that do for research? Well, we've talked about this for like 2 years now. What happens when we want to talk to the primary shopper in the household? And the primary shopper is now an agent that is being set up automatically to do very specific things. So researchers, we're going to have to broaden our perspective and think about it. Marketers, obviously, already thinking about this disruption of the process that we have been so used to thinking about how buying decisions are made is now changing rapidly. Go ahead.
Well, I'm connecting dots, friends. It's what we do. So Carly, I'm also going to make you jump back up to like the middle of this, where there's a company called Remark that raised $16 million to expand its AI-driven shopping platform, which is humanizing product discovery online, right? So they're trying to take they're trying to make online shopping more experiential, like a brick and mortar experience of shopping. And they have AI trained personas who are like agents helping you shop via their platform. So it's connected to this Burke kind of article talking about shopping behavior. So thanks for finding it, Carly and Lenny. Thanks for indulging me bouncing all over the place today.
Yes.
But it's a new dynamic in shopping that if you sell something in the kind of specifically consumer space right now, but it's also B2B, right? If you sell something, you're going to be having to understand how the agents work because they are a part of the buying decision-making process.
And the Remark thing is interesting. I actually experienced tried to do this myself. I wish I had gone with that. My daughter has 16th birthday coming up this month. So, and I used Perplexity to create a persona, of,
that's interesting.
You're a 16-year-old girl who likes this, right? What? I'm clueless. I'm a 54-year-old dad. I don't know what the hell to buy.
Did it ask you for your budget because car or phone?
Yeah, she just got her learner, so not ready for a car yet. The car will come next year because there's no sense in buying her a car yet. But anyway, but yes, so that, and now this coming Remark would do some of that for you. Instead of creating that persona, it has developed personas you can use. And of course, the other agentic stuff we have been talking about is allowing you to create or to basically build it off of your own buying behavior. So yes, that changes the cycle.
Shopper journeys, like anybody involved in shopper journey work, like put what
pack testing, right? Whatever the marketing implications. What are you paying? Are you paid for placement for an agent? I mean, no, those things don't necessarily apply. So it is a whole new world.
And for me, the shopper journey work that I used to do as a qualitative researcher was largely around kind of understanding the emotional needs state at each stage along the shopper journey. Like, what are they going through? What are they experiencing? In some of the categories that I worked in, that was what was most important anyway. And I think about some new emotions that are being added to this. And I'm so curious. Like, this is one of those times where I'm like, yes, I'd love to be talking to people about their shopper journey when they start to use these agentic tools. So if you're in that space, like, good time to start to pilot some of those studies where you're really trying to understand this new journey. It's going to be very interesting.
It really is. It's still nascent. So let's be clear. We're not talking about,
everybody.
The majority of consumers doing this yet. But it is coming. Now let's also, let's finish that episode 2, start at the end, the AWS. So Amazon Web Services, right? One of the major hosting platforms, they're key infrastructure for the internet entirely at this point. And they are launching an AI agent marketplace. Now, of course, they've invested heavily in Anthropic. So I'm sure that'll be the preference is, agents built off of the Anthropic AI solution. But they're really looking at targeting startups who are building agents. Think of this as like the app, craze when smartphones first came out, right? Two guys in a truck, literally, code something. What is it? Vibe coding, an agent to perform a function, and now having a marketplace where within AWS users, they can do that and they can plug it into their websites. So they're building that ecosystem now. And is it a stretch to, this is just an announcement, haven't looked. I will bet you anything that very quickly, probably within the first week, some of those agents will be based upon insight generation. Talk to your customers, get their feedback, test ideas, test usability, all of those things. That's low-hanging fruit in our world that would now be integrated at the infrastructure level, at a core place where companies are building and hosting their business websites, now enabled with agentic research solutions. I haven't seen it. I don't know who that would be.
So the article, which is a TechCrunch article, Carly, I don't know if you grabbed it. It's not showing up on our platform, but it's the very last thing. It's talking about The marketplace will allow startups to charge customers for use of
Yep.
this agent. So it is a marketplace where you could kind of buy the use of an agent.
Yep.
And then Amazon Web Services, gets a cut. All right, that's fair, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same as the app stores, right? It's the same model.
Yeah. And then it says further down in this, the others have done it too. Like Google Cloud introduced the AI agent marketplace. Microsoft has something called the Agent Store. Anyway, Salesforce and ServiceNow have their own agent marketplaces. So this one isn't, the only. It's showing that this is what's happening. That these players are doing this. That there are agent marketplaces, and more companies are going to be accessing them and getting. Twofold. People will be using them and people will be contributing to them. It is, to your point, the app store for AI agents. So cool. It's really cool. All right, but so then let's connect some dots. So we talked about the agents. Next week we'll talk more about the activity among some of our browsers and what's happening in AI and search and why it matters to you. So we'll tell that story next week.
Yep, absolutely.
We need a little more time and research there.
We do, and it's and by next week there will be whole new things anyway. So, but so you mentioned the emotions. So Carly, we're going to jump around again. There was a really neat Centaur AI. If you see that, there's a whole section here we'll talk about of kind of predictive measurement. Which I think was really the key of what we're here. Centaur is basically a LLM trained off of a bajillion different academic papers around psychology and non-conscious measurement and all of those things. And they claim that they can predict individual and group behavior with unrivaled accuracy because it has the best understanding of how we humans think and feel and what we do as a result of that. So it's still kind of in academia. But I know I shared that with a few people, a few leaders in the industry, and they were like, on it, already reaching out, need to integrate that. So,
if they can take one part of kind of the psychology and the behavioral science and layer it with structured data, then suddenly predictive analytics has more meaning.
Yep.
The measurements make sense, which I think, and that's why I want to talk about predictive measurement, because we're at an interesting point where, and we'll share these next two things in a minute, where there's dollars being put towards predictive measurements, whether it's predictive modeling or predictive just predictive analytics in general. We're looking. Everybody wants the crystal ball right now. Everybody wants to see things. So we're seeing activity in this space because there's this urgent need to understand what's coming because we're living in this disruptive, ambiguous time. So I think, correct me if you think I'm wrong or tell me if you disagree, but that's why I think this is bubbling up to the top right now, is we have this urgent need for foresight.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's interesting that this Centaur is possibly going to give kind of meaning behind the analytics as opposed to just here's what the data says.
Right.
We might start to layer on an understanding of why the data says that. Anyway, that to me is very interesting. But let's talk about these other two valuations or fundraising efforts, both Kalshi and Polymarket. I didn't really dig too deep into these other than to just say, okay, noted.
Yeah. They're prediction markets. Kalshi raised 185 million at a 2 billion valuation. So that's expanded into the US. So that's interesting. The prediction markets are more, they're a bigger thing in Europe than they have been in the US. And the thing was betting markets, right? Has been one of the big applications there.
Yeah.
We've used prediction markets from a research methodology for years, but it was fairly niche. Polymarket, 200 million raise at a 1 billion valuation. They've also partnered with XAI. And if you guys saw this week too, the launch of Grok 4, which is kind of like the new benchmark in AI capability, adding new data feeds, prediction data feeds, right? That's tying into the way prediction markets work, the wisdom of the crowd kind of thing. These things are gaining big valuations, generating, big revenue, to your point, as foresight indicators. And, the lots of evidence for many years that prediction markets are better, I would say quantitatively better, predicting outcomes of things, not just sporting events, but even elections. Been a few folks have used that for polling and have done really well with that. Now they're being applied across all types of things, and it's gamified, right? It has that whole gamified element. But point is, it's the drive for insight. Now you combine that with what we just talked about, Centaur, right? Okay, now you get not just foresight of here's what we think is going to happen, but here's why. Is something like Centaur can effectively, and then, well, what's next?
Yeah.
How are people going to react to this outcome if this event occurs? And just this cycle of foresight and prediction as a result of that.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing what this can do potentially.
Let's use this as our segue back to the top, where we talk about some interesting news, because this NIQ story just had me thinking about them in general, and this is what my mind does. So NIQ, formerly Nelson IQ, has filed for an IPO, the New York Stock Exchange.
Again.
Ticker NIQ. Is it an again? I was like,
Nelson was public and then went private, and now they're going public.
So good. I'm glad you said it's an again, because I was actually thinking, anyway, and my brain didn't go there. Anyway, but where my brain did go was, we're talking about, again, this big picture of not just customer insight or consumer insight, but consumer intelligence. So what are we gleaning? We're gleaning the fact that with artificial intelligence kind of shining a spotlight on what's possible in the future, the need for all of our intelligence, we're not just looking for insight anymore, right? We are looking for intelligence. And that sounds redundant to me now that I've said it like twice, but to me, that's what stood out so much is, whether it's strategic intelligence or decision intelligence or customer intelligence or whatever it is, we are so beyond, as insights professionals, so beyond what we used to do, into like, okay, we are driving something much, much bigger and far more important these days. And if it doesn't feel it to you, you got to pay attention a little bit more. That's my kind of push for the day is,
agreed, because the whole thing leads towards synthesis, towards bringing down the silos. So often we in research, we think about art, and in any other industry as well, like this is what we do, and we get particularly or prey to our methodology or our business issue focus or whatever, and that's fine. I think that expertise is still going to be needed.
Yeah,
but the CEO is not thinking along those lines. The CEO.
Do you remember a few years ago when we were looking at grit data, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, look, like Accenture is in the mix as a insights provider. And we were a little bit like, I don't want to say confused, but we were a little bit like, they're doing insights work. And it's like, now I have this whole new thought process about it, which is like, yes, but also no, we're being required to elevate like these lines between the two types of organizations. Large business decision consulting is being enmeshed with with insight work, whether it's them kind of coming into our industry or us being required to go into theirs. Like, it's a blurring of this line. It's very interesting.
It really is. And you get to that point, though, not to belabor a point, that idea of foresight and prediction, even the example of prediction markets, that we cited, we have built an industry and a system over years based upon, creating dots, right? And then companies like Accenture, their job was really to kind of connect those dots. Sure, right? That was what the value that's why they charge $1 bajillion for a single project, right? But increasingly now, we're looking at AI being the system that connects the dots.
Yeah.
Through and bringing down the silos of synthesizing this information from all these various sources and just having the right pieces put in place to do that. It is very, very, very interesting, and still will stay still nascent. But guys, I mean, we're not connecting dots here. These are like suns, right? I mean, it's I mean, it's very apparent where all this is going. We're as smart as Karen and I are, and I would say that we are pretty damn smart.
Pretty damn smart.
But what we're talking about here, it's just blatant, right? And that's what we're talking about, where the money's going. You look at these things; it is incredibly clear what this end state vision is, and we have to adapt to be a part of that ecosystem.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. Do you want World Panel? As we knew this is going to happen. Numerators absorbed World Panel. Buzz has been that it's going to be set up for a sale. So that's expected. And potentially for an IPO. So as Nielsen goes back, or NIQ goes back into the world of IPO, I would fully expect, see how that goes. That's probably what Bain's doing. Let's see how that goes. There may be an IPO for them in still this year as well, or bought for, I think there were $4 billion, the collective entity that they're trying to get. So let's see.
Well, we'll keep watching. Yeah. I'm excited to see that story about Amplitude acquiring Craftful.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know Craftful, we actually talked about this when, like I think 2 years ago, because it's an AI native kind of, user interviewing or user research platform, Craftful. Yana Valinder, she spoke at IAX North America, and she's an amazing female founder. So I'm excited that her company has been acquired by Amplitude. I mean, this was quick, because I think she launched her first minimum viable product in 2021. So we're talking like 4 years from minimum viable product in user testing to acquisition. So I don't know any more details other than that. I think this is the first story I've seen about it. It probably won't be the last. But it's AI native, right? So this was one of the first ones, the first kind of product launches that were like after we started talking about generative AI. Then she launched with this, this kind of GPT feedback platform. Anyway, pretty cool. I'm excited for her. It's always good to see a female founder in particular succeed, but also I love this idea. This is what's going to happen. Some of these AI native platforms are going to get bought right up.
Yep. Some are going to get bought because they reach critical mass themselves, so they're good value contributors. Some will be the opposite. They'll be fire sales. It'll be a cheap acquisition. But to your point, they make, in the world of synthesis, right? It makes sense to be connected to broader plays overall. So I think it'll be a very interesting. We haven't seen signs in this. They didn't report the valuation or value of this deal, so no idea.
No.
I can tell you that's still kind of in the toilet right now. Not in the toilet, but there's nothing special about res tech, valuations. Everybody there. It's kind of so that will be the thing that needs to unlock for more of these deals to take place. I think is for we start building up, better multipliers for that. So interesting times. Yeah. Speaking of which, a couple more raises. So we talked about Remark raising $16 million. Get Why raised $17 million, Series A. So AI-driven consumer insights. Get Why they're part of our ecosystem as well, right? So congratulations to them. More money coming in. And then do
This
we
was
want
big
to?
money. This was a big money show. We have mentioned a lot of money in today's episode.
Well, yes, right.
Yeah.
And all of these, even the prediction market plays, right? And those are fundamentally, there's still fundamentally research applications, even though we think about them as something different.
Yeah.
It's still getting people to share their opinions, systemically in a different way to predict outcomes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of
Speaking
money.
of systemic, we have some product launches also
We
that
do.
are worth covering. And one of them, the first one we're going to talk about, Rep Data launching Second Shield, which is an AI tool for fraud detection. And
For AI generated fraud protection.
AI generated. So it's like it's an AI tool to prevent AI generated fraud detection. But what I like about this press release that Carly's sharing is the chief technology officer, Vignesh Krishnan, shares, it's a living system. The more data it sees, the smarter it gets, giving our clients a proactive edge in the arms race where yesterday's tactics won't win tomorrow's battles. And I'm like, I like that. Yesterday's tactics won't win tomorrow's battles.
Yep.
That is such a good and important and critical phase. They're right. You can't fight fraud the way you used to. You have to re-look at all of it. So anyway, hats off. I like everything about the tool, and I like everything about the way they're thinking about the tool. To me, that's what's more important than the fact that they've launched something, because others can do that too, but it's the way they're thinking it. Their approach to the current problem is, anyway, I just like it. I like it a lot
too. And if you're not following Rep Data, you should, because they've been producing content based on the data that they see. So it's a really good resource because they got a lot thrown through their pipes around fraud, and they've been quantifying that, and they've been pretty public about what they're seeing in aggregate, obviously, and they're using that to help train their own systems. So really good resource from a data quality standpoint. Pay attention to it, to what they're doing in terms of content. Our friends at AHA, they relaunched their AI powered platform, so qualitative inherently. So they've not just reskinned it, but they've kind of rethought it and baked in AI throughout. So another example of that new integration and releasing new products that just kind of fundamentally changed the function and process of how research is being conducted. And that's a really good example, because AHA is not a big company, right? It's not like they're Microsoft. So even smaller players can be really innovative and integrate these solutions pretty readily and launch for competitive edge. So
and one thing about what they've built there, and I've used a lot of these platforms back in the day, but it is very user oriented. It was one of those platforms where it has been designed. So I'm curious about this new interface, which I think is designed to kind of enhance how the user interacts with it. So that's always been something that they shined in that space of meeting the user needs in terms of the interface design. And so the relaunch most likely does the same thing. It's pretty cool.
Yep. I'm not sure whether we pronounce this correctly or not.
I played with it too in my head. I'm like, is it David or David?
Yeah, David. So sorry, guys. Let us know. But you mentioned you before.
Aivid. David.
Yeah, I think it's David. So, but interesting. So that they've been doing basically ad testing, right? And building an AI-based ad testing. This was particularly a new tool at the effectiveness of generative AI creative for advertisers. So specifically testing the boom of AI generated creative rather than traditionally created creative, which something based on the stuff that I see desperately needed, because good God, there is so much. Actually, recently, did you see, just by the way, the last couple, some media event happened. I forget what it was, but it was the first AI generated ad on TV for a large broadcast event. I forget what the circumstances was, but did you catch that? We break that wall.
Yeah. I feel like, didn't we talk about that 2 weeks ago? Maybe we did, or maybe we didn't.
I don't think we did, but
But yes, saw it and was like, all right. Like it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a particularly compelling ad.
Sure.
Like it didn't move me at all. It didn't,
Yep.
make me think anything other than, oh, look what AI did. At the same time, that a lot of the things were going around, that week about the technology and all. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think testing is important because just because it can do it doesn't mean it's a more effective ad.
Yes.
Right.
100%. 100%.
Spell that out.
Yes. And I still find the choppiness of those things disengaging.
Well, so let's segue into this character AI.
Yep. And speaking of AI generated fraud,
and speaking of the choppiness, I was riveted by these videos and on this link. So character AI introduced something called talking machines, real-time video model for audio-driven face-to-face AI interactions.
Real time. I think that's the critical piece.
Real time. And there's a couple of links on here where you can watch these characters in conversation with a user. And if you need us to spell out for you what this means from a research standpoint, as I'm watching the first one on here, which is this adorable little fox, and the user is asking the fox questions, I'm thinking about the reverse. I'm thinking about, would I talk to a fox if a fox started asking me questions? Like, how would I talk to a fox? How would I interact with this fox? Because what you'll see in here, and I think what they're talking about, is the animation of their facial expressions. Mm-hmm. And so it's like more than just talking machines. It's talking animations that are more than avatars, because they're anyway. Just watch these and note your own reactions, because the fox I thought was really cute. Then when you scroll down, there's like a I don't know what you call that thing, that that dinosaur-ish orb-like creature thing. Super not my style. And I'm listening to that one and I'm like, okay, this is all creepy and weird, all a little choppy, but what if a creature is on the other end, and we're not even talking about a human avatar, so you're talking to something, but something that looks sweet and innocent and curious. How would you interact with it? Would you tell it the truth? If a dog comes on and says, can I talk to you about dog food? Would you talk to the dog any differently? But if a cat comes on and starts talking to you about dog food, would you talk to the cat differently? I mean,
but children research, right?
Right. How safe would it be if this cute little fox, let me scroll back up to him and look at him again. He's so darn cute. If this cute little fox was suddenly like, asking you about your favorite toys. Right. I mean, a child would engage with that.
Right. And, there's already these examples with humans already exist in where all the early innovation always occurs in the adult industry, right? There are things like the OnlyFans and those type of things. They're the exact same scenario where it is highly interactive and almost real time with a human. No, and I have not tested any of that. I don't do those things. But I've seen reports on it. So now think about that. How close are we to that technology, these type of technologies being so ubiquitous and so easy that a fraudster in whatever Eastern Europe, that where these things tend to happen, or China or whatever, enables that for interviews, for qualitative. So go back to Rep Data, what they're trying.
I was going to say, Rep Data, get on this.
Yeah, we're not far away. So yeah, lots of interesting guys. Just the pace of change continues. If there was any sense of it's going to slow down, I see zero indication of anything slowing down. I think that arms race is only accelerating.
Yeah. And if you can't look at it with kind of open eyes and an understanding that it's happening, that this is the world that we live in, and I mean, approach everything that you see and learn with the idea that you might have a problem to solve, but there also might be an opportunity for you to do something bigger and better than you've done before.
Yeah.
because I think the possibilities are pretty damn cool.
They are. And we've got some cool, not official shout outs, but the new grit survey will be going soon. The reason we haven't launched it yet is because we've been really retooling it to move away from, what do you think about AI, into like, all right, what is happening in your business today, right? What's the kind of the pragmatic implications and applications that you're seeing? So FYI, that's coming soon. We hope that you'll participate as we try and get a handle quantitatively on what's happening within the insight space among buyers and suppliers. And Karen and I are also working on something that hopefully we'll be able to announce soon. Speaking about transformation and change, that
probably a week or two.
Yeah, I think a week or two, but it could be
shout out to our
helpful.
team. We don't always take a moment to just shout out to our team, but you know, in my inbox this morning was the email about 2 of our buyer's guides that now are available for download. And Carly, yes. I didn't even think about this, so no pressure. But if you did not get the marketing email explaining that we have these buyer's guides, I mean, people on our team worked so hard on these.
Yes, they did.
Myself and Lenny not really included. we had a look-see every now and then, perhaps, but no, there were team members of ours. I mean, starting at the top, Lukash and Nelson and Jasmine and Susan and Aaron. I mean, really, like, so many people were involved in these buyer's guides, and I downloaded them today. I was excited to see them.
Good job, Carly. Thank you.
Carly on the scene, right? Yeah. Shopper Insights and User Insights, I think were launched today. And anyway, just hats off to everybody who did a great job on those. If you are not getting our marketing emails, please, get that into your inbox, subscribe.
Yeah.
Because I did not actually, full disclosure, I've been a little sick this week. Didn't realize this was happening till it hit my inbox today. And I'm like, oh, look, this happened today. That's how out of things I have been. So I rely on our own marketing emails to find out what Green Book is up to.
I do too. And I want to say one more thing too. So I don't know about everybody else, but this was not a great week for the Green Book team. There were lots of people that had stuff going on. And there's people who have other stuff that is coming. And if that's like the zeitgeist of the world and you also have stuff going on, then I just wanted to kind of say, let's all remember to be kind to everybody around us, because everyone has stuff happening in their world, in their lives. And to your point, our team keeps doing what needs to get done, even when, life around them is not particularly pleasant for whatever reason. And I'm sure that you as a listener, you have the same thing going on. So hats off to everybody for just doing what needs to get done. Support to everybody if you're dealing with challenges, our team and to your team.
Yeah. I love when you preach kindness. It's just so
well, when my hair is down, I'll come on and Greg will say, "Hey, Jesus." So I guess it's just kind of catching, I'm just trying to be do unto others as I would have them do unto me.
Yes, you can preach Jesus, but anyway.
I'm damn sure not Jesus, but
let's go back to Lenny talking about kindness, shall we?
Anyway, I guess that's it. That's our
show.
We squeezed a lot in.
Show. I need to go.
You go.
Maybe take some more Tylenol. Maybe take another rest. But good to see you all. Good to see you, Lenny. And we'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's funny.